Good evening. Welcome to this candidates forum for the Yonkers City Council President. My name is Susan Maggiato, and I'm president of the Rivertowns League of Women Voters. This evening, you will have the opportunity to listen to the candidates' views on issues of importance to the Yonkers community so that you can make an informed decision when you vote. A word about the League of Women Voters. I'm sure you know the League is a voter service organization, and indeed we are. That's been our mission since our founding in 1920 after women got the right to vote. But we are also an advocacy group. We lobby our legislators on public policy issues at the local, state, and national level. How do we arrive at our positions? By member study and consensus. Our positions represent the views of our members. So in that sense, we are political, but we are staunchly nonpartisan. That means that as a league, we never support or oppose candidates or political parties. And membership in the league is open to anyone 16 years of age or older. A word about the recording policy that both candidates have agreed to. Only the entities authorized by the league may record or live stream this forum, and only licensed media, which includes TV, radio, and newspapers, are entitled by FCC regulations to air portions of the recording. Anyone else who broadcasts or streams it must do so in its entirety. This is to ensure that the content of the forum will not be manipulated in any way to create false or misleading impressions of any candidate. There is no audience participation tonight. The questions the candidates will be answering were submitted by members of the Yonkers community and reviewed by a committee of league members. Our moderator tonight is Debbie Reisner. Ms. Reisner is a resident of Rye and a member and former president of the Rye, Rybrook, and Portchester League. Our timekeeper is Lisa Wilkinson, a member of the Rivertowns League. And with that, I will turn the forum over to Ms. Reisner.
Thank you, Susan. And welcome everyone. I congratulate you on participating in this very important exercise in democracy. So I'm going to read to you the format for this evening's forum, and then we'll begin. So at the beginning of the forum, the moderator, that's me, is to explain the rules of the forum and introduce each candidate. The forum will follow a traditional format, beginning with an opening statement from each candidate, followed by a question and response period, and ending with closing statements. The order of candidates' opening statements was determined by a non-biased approach that we conducted before this evening's program. And then the reverse order will be used for the closing statements. The allotted time for opening and closing statements will be 2 minutes. Audience questions have been collected, as Susan Maggiato just shared with you, and they have been vetted by a committee of league members. No questions are going to be taken from the audience this evening. I will address each question to each candidate. Everybody has a chance to answer. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond, and the order in which candidates will respond will be rotated to ensure fairness. The question response times will be strictly enforced. A timekeeper will be visible on the screen who will alert the moderator and candidates when 30 seconds response time are remaining and then when to stop. And I'm going to clarify that the timekeeper herself will not be visible, but a 30-second clock will appear when there are 30 seconds remaining, and the stop sign will appear when time is up. The candidate who is speaking at that time will be allowed to finish the sentence, but then must finish their response. Each candidate will be allowed 2 rebuttals in the course of the evening. Rebuttal time will be 30 seconds, and there will be no responses to the rebuttals, no rebuttals of rebuttals. If a candidate would like a rebuttal, My suggestion is please raise your hand, or better yet, something really visible that I'll be able to see, like wave a piece of paper at me, or just raise it up so that I can see. You're welcome to try to use the raise hand option on the Zoom as well. During the closing statements, the moderator may grant a rebuttal if the moderator deems it appropriate. Candidates will not interrupt one another or the moderator during the forum. The moderator will have the authority to pause the proceedings to enforce the ground rules and format. Candidates have not been provided with the questions in advance, and substitute spokespeople will not be allowed. And except for time limits, the only restriction on candidate statements and answers is respect and civility. All right, and with that, I think shall we get started? Candidates have agreed in advance how they're to be called. I'd like to introduce Lakisha Collin-Bellamy, who is the incumbent, and Dean Politopoulas, who is running for the position for the first time. So I'm going to invite Lakisha to present her first opening statement for 2 minutes.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters Rivertowns for sponsoring this important candidate forum. As was said, my name is Lakisha Collins-Bellamy. I am the Democratic candidate and incumbent for the Yonkers City Council President seat. I am a lifelong resident of the city of Yonkers, and I am an attorney by trade. Having spent my entire life here in the city of Yonkers, living both on the east side and west side of towns, I am fully versed in issues that present itself to the entire city of Yonkers. I am fully aware that housing, affordability, public safety, and education are huge issues that concern every resident here in the city of Yonkers. When I ran 4 years ago, I talked about how I would make more affordable housing. In the last 4 years, we have developed more than 1,600 affordable units or have them in the pipeline and designed here in the city of Yonkers. Public safety, Yonkers is one of the safest cities of its size in the state of New York. Education continues to improve, and I am proud to say that I have sponsored and or supported record numbers of funding for the Yonkers Public Schools, and our graduation rates continue to be over 90%. Affordability is an issue that is facing everyone nationwide, and as the council president, I fully pledge to keep taxes low and stay within the tax cap here in the city of Yonkers at every turn. Public safety, I am the wife of a police officer and former correction officer here in the great city of Yonkers. And I believe I know the issues that are important to the city of Yonkers and the residents. We have been moving Yonkers forward the last 4 years, working together with the administration. With all that is going on in Washington, D.C., now is not the time to go backwards. We have to continue to move Yonkers forward, and I am the candidate to continue the job. So I ask that
Thank you.
all of
Thank you. Thank you, Lakisha.
I'm sorry. I don't see any of the prompts, the 30-second and stop. I haven't seen.
Oh, goodness. All right.
But it's fine that you said.
Okay. I will try to, I don't want to interrupt you in the middle of an answer.
Perhaps Lisa could say 30 seconds and then stop. You have to listen for that. I think it's because of how you signed on.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, will do.
Dean, your opening statement?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Susan, thank you very much to the yourself and to Debbie and League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's event. My name is Dean Politopoulas. I'm running for City Council President. I'm on the Republican and conservative lines. I'll just give you a quick history about myself. I'm the proud son of immigrant parents. My parents came to the United States in the 1960s. They moved around a little bit and started with a business in New York City. Moved to Yonkers in 1983, and I've been a lifelong resident ever since. I actually went to grade school in New York City, so when I wasn't in school, I was with my parents at their store, or I was at home. So growing up in a family business, you really learn about hard work and sacrifice and customer service, right? Because that's what you need to be successful when you run your own business. As I grew older, I was drawn to public service. I went to Manhattan College for a little bit, and then I switched to John Jay. And I left John Jay early to join the New York City Police Department a couple of months before 9/11. Worked in the NYPD for a couple of years, and then I moved to the Yonkers Police Department in 2003. I had a wonderful 20-year career with the Yonkers Police. I retired as a lieutenant about 2 years ago. My last role was the public information officer and executive officer to the department. And those are just long titles to say that I did a lot of work with the community, a lot of external communications, and a lot of engagement with community groups all over the city, all neighborhoods, all four quadrants of the city. So really, my life has been dedicated to customer service and public service. But more importantly, it's about finding solutions to problems and helping people. So after I retired, even though I had separated from public service, I still want to serve publicly. So that's why I decided to seek public office. I'm running for the first time. This is my first foray into politics. I want to take my experience and my leadership and all the work that I did working for the city prior, and now apply that to a leadership role at the city council, helping people, but more importantly, investing in solutions that have practical effects. Going around to the city and speaking to a lot of people, you find out that a lot of the concerns that people share are similar. So it's really about helping find solutions to that. And now I see Lisa Wilkinson's stop sign, so I'll stop.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, now we're going to begin the question and answer portion of our program. And the Dean, you will have the opportunity to answer the question first, followed by Lakisha. And once again, I want to remind you that you have a minute and a half to answer every question. All right, what do you see as the role of the City Council President, and how does it differ from being a council member?
So the City Council President represents all council districts, not just a district. So the City Council is the legislative branch of the city, primarily with zoning and passing city code and approving the mayor's budget. I view the council president's position as setting the tone and guiding the city council to solutions that help not just one district, but all districts, right? I believe that the role of government is to create conditions that allow people to thrive. As I was getting to my opening statement, having spoken to a lot of people, campaigning, a lot of the concerns people have are very similar. As unique and as diverse as the city is, a lot of the issues that people talk about are kitchen table type issues that we all talk about. Primarily, it's around public safety, quality of life, education, taxation, finance, infrastructure, and all those specific neighborhoods have special concerns. For example, the casino project in the second precinct, development in the downtown area, flooding and infrastructure in the Northeast. The main concerns are, at the end of the day, people want to come home, they want to feel safe, they want to know their kids can play outside and not have to worry about them, and they would want to know that government is working for them. So I think ultimately that is the role of government, right? Is to create those conditions to make people want to move here, to live here, to play here, to make Yonkers thrive. And the role of the city council president is to guide that.
Thank you. Lakisha, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. So as Dean mentioned, there are three fundamental roles of a council person. That is zone changes in the zoning ordinance, passing the mayor's budget and approving legislation that betters the life of residents in the city of Yonkers. The city council president is the only role in this charter that has the duty of being an ombudsman, which means essentially you're like a concierge providing services to the residents of the city of Yonkers. The council president is a citywide position, so I represent the entire city of Yonkers, and I chair the Rules Committee, which sets the agenda in the council meetings every week. However, as a council president, I am still just one vote out of 7. So I need to be able to work well with my colleagues in order to pass legislation that is important to the city and to the residents. You need to have 4 votes on the council in order to pass anything, 5 if the mayor vetoes. So it requires a set of skills that allows you to work across the aisles.
30-second warning.
Got it. To work across the aisles and form coalitions in order to better serve the residents of the city of Yonkers.
Thank you. All right, the next question, Lakisha, you will have the opportunity to answer first, followed by Dean. What unique qualities and expertise do you hold that make you suited for the office of City Council President?
So I am the child of teen parents. My mother and father were 16 and 17 when I was born. And as I said, I was born and raised here in the city of Yonkers, attended public schools as well as private schools here in the city of Yonkers. I've raised my son here, worked my way through working for a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and then ultimately a law degree while raising my son as a single mother. I grew up in public housing here in the city of Yonkers. And in 1992, when DSEG happened, I moved to the east side of town to the townhouses that were built as a part of DSEG. And I attended Roosevelt High School as a part of DSEG. I've lived the Yonkers experience through and through, whether it's education, housing, or just trying to raise a family and better your life here in the city of Yonkers. I have the skill set and the tools, both education and experience-wise, here in the city of Yonkers to continue to do a great job here.
Thank you. Dean?
So personal characteristics wise, time management skills, organization, administration skills. For the people who know me, I don't leave any stones unturned. I cross every T, dot every I, almost to a level of OCD completion. On a professional level, leadership experience, administration, organization experience, working in an executive level of one of the largest agencies in the city for many years. Lots of relationship and liaisoning with other city agencies, working directly with the administration, working with other commissioners, working with community-based organizations, outside agencies, other law enforcement organizations, community-based organizations. Anything that touches the police department or the lifeblood of the city that we're involved in, direct experience working with that. And so it's that experience and have the experience of finding solutions to people's problems that I want to extend and bring to the elected official level, right? It's not just about talking about ideas and high level topics. It's about actually delivering practical and tangible results that can help improve people's lives. Having worked in operations before, oftentimes you have to deliver results within a day or within hours. And it's bringing some of those qualities and characteristics to a government leadership position.
Thank you. All right, so the next question, Dean, you will be asked first, followed by Lakisha. In view of MGM dropping its bid for a casino license in Yonkers, what is your long-term vision for the further development or redevelopment of the Empire City Casino and the surrounding area?
I was not against the casino development. I know there are pros and cons to the casino expansion. I think the long-term effects would have benefited the city. The increase in tax dollars, jobs, and infrastructure upgrades. So it's unfortunate that MGM backed out. I do know there's a lot of homeowners in the area and a lot of residents that are glad that the development is not taking place because of the potential impact on their quality of life. Having said that, just because the casino is not expanding doesn't mean that they're leaving or they're going anyplace. I think it's the responsibility of government and the city to continue to support them as a good partner, and to make sure that they do continue to invest in their current site and infrastructure and some of the community benefits package agreements that we've had with them to see if we can continue to get them to invest in those, especially the infrastructure upgrades in the area. I know one of the benefits that was spoken about was the purchase of the Lincoln Park Jewish Center to convert it to a community center library, and I believe the city is still continuing to go forward with that, to the credit of the city council and administration today.
Thank you. Lakisha?
Thank you. While we were disappointed to learn that MGM had withdrawn its bid, being a leader requires you to be able to pivot. So conversations have been had with MGM leadership, and they claim that they are committed to staying here in the city of Yonkers. The Raceway has been longstanding. I actually used to live across the street from it growing up in the townhouses. So MGM says they're committed to staying. However, we do know if they leave, one, the property is zoned already that residential units could go onto the property. However, we would again look to find partners that are committed to serving the city of Yonkers. The biggest disappointment is the loss of dollars in revenue, especially for education. So I am committed to continuing to fund education fully and to keep some of those promises that were made, as many as possible, in the community benefits agreement. As Dean mentioned, the city council is still committed to the $10 million for the library.
30-second warning.
The library on Central Avenue, and fixing up the storefronts and making sure that the businesses prosper and that the residents in the impacted area are continuing to see a decline in their quality of life in the area.
Thank you. All right, the next question, Lakisha, you will have the first answer, followed by Dean. How do you see your role in balancing the need for public safety with the rights of citizens to assemble and exercise their right to free speech?
The First Amendment is quite important. I am an attorney, so I am all about supporting the law and order. However, as the city council president, it is important that we maintain order. We've seen times when there have been protests at City Hall, and we've welcomed those opinions of the residents here in the city of Yonkers, as long as it's in a civil manner. So I don't believe that we should impede on the rights of others to have free speech and speak up for what they believe in. But we also have to protect the residents as a whole in the city of Yonkers. And as I said, I am the wife of a police officer, so I fully support our police department and believe that they do a wonderful job. They're one of the best in the nation at what they do. But and we do wholeheartedly support the First Amendment, the right to assemble, and encourage voters and residents of the city of Yonkers to come out and voice their concerns and have their voices heard, because that's how change is effected.
30-second warning.
Thank you.
Okay. Dean?
Yeah, so I mean, add a front row seat to this. I can speak with direct experience in the summer of 2020 during the social justice reforms and the protests. We had several protests here in the city of Yonkers with hundreds of people, and I'm very proud to say that we had almost, actually, I believe, no property damage and very, 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 very few arrests. Look, everyone has the right to assemble. Everyone has the right to have their voices heard. People have the right to protest. As long as you do it without violence, as long as you do it without damaging property or inhibiting the residents' quality of life and impacting their life to the point where, they're unable to function. The Yonkers Police Department did a fantastic job. All the police officers and supervisors who were working during that summer did amazing work, and beyond proud of the way we conducted ourselves. It is the role of government to protect citizens. It is the role of government to protect the freedom of speech and their right. And there's also the role, like you said, to balance that and to protect people who are not participants and to make sure that certain lines aren't crossed. And I think here in the city of Yonkers, we do a phenomenal job. And I think the right answer is just to keep doing what we're doing.
Thank you. All right, the next question, Dean, you will be asked first, followed by Lakisha. You both have recognized the difficulty of ensuring optimal funding for education while keeping property taxes as low as possible. Please share with us your approach to this challenging issue.
So I'm not sure what the exact number is, but I think the city of Yonkers spends anywhere between $26,000 to $28,000 per student. That's more than most of the private schools in the area. There was a report last year, I believe it was now the Rockefeller Center report, that talked about adjusting the formula, at the state level, so the city of Yonkers can get more funding. But elected officials have been talking about that for years, and Albany really hasn't made any changes. Speaking to a lot of teachers during campaign season about how to improve schools, one of the common themes that a lot of teachers says is that you have to increase parent engagement and parent involvement, right? So I think that is a necessary and important first step. To directly answer your question to funding, I would be open to conducting an audit of the Yonkers Public School budget, because they are a separate entity, separate from the city administration, and can we identify services that are duplicated, that we can combine to take that money and put it more towards the classroom level? Can we look at administration and see if there's any areas for savings and move that to the classroom level? We pay a lot of taxes in the city of Yonkers, and I'm committed to not breaking the tax cap, outside of exigent circumstances, but I don't know if it's so much of a revenue problem, more of a spending problem. So to commit to any answer, I would want to review the spending and make sure that, with that $700 million budget, that those dollars are being spent efficiently and wisely.
Thank you. Lakisha?
Yes. So every year, the city council members go to Albany, as well as the mayor, to lobby for more of our tax dollars to come back to the city of Yonkers. And fortunately, recently, the state senate, the governor, and the assembly have been listening, and there was an adjustment study done for an adjustment to the formula, and Yonkers saw more funding than it has in recent years come from New York State. However, we're nowhere near, we're less than 1/3 than what the other large school districts, the Big Five in New York State, receive. So we have to continue to make sure that our dollars that we send up in taxes come back to the city of Yonkers. Unfortunately, we give money over $300 million to the school districts, and we cannot, as the city council, dictate how that money is spent once it is funded. So we can't say, put this pot of money to sports or art or music instead of salaries for
30-second warning.
Thank you. What we can do, however, is ensure that our students have the necessary tools. And that's why this year, the city of Yonkers gave every student a device for take home to use for educational purposes. And I am committed to continuing to fund our schools fully.
Thank you. So the next question, Lakisha, you will be asked first, followed by Dean. And this question is, besides approving the budget for the Board of Education, what do you think your role should be in the relationship between the City Council and the Board of Education?
So prior to becoming a city council president, I was a trustee on the Yonkers Public School Board. And that was one of the most rewarding experiences, because you get to directly impact the policies, procedures, and instruction for our Yonkers public school students. As the city council, we provide the funding to those schools. So it is imperative that we have open communication and dialogue and meet frequently with the administration of Yonkers Public Schools, visit the schools. I often visit schools throughout the city of Yonkers, not only to spotlight and highlight, but to hear the concerns from the parents, the students, and teachers, and administrators. It's about having a partnership for the betterment of our students and making sure that they're well-rounded, not only education, but as I mentioned previously, music, sports, and technical skills that they can use in the workplace. So it's about keeping open dialogue and having a partnership with the Yonkers Public School staff.
32nd warning.
Thank you.
Dean?
So just to expand on the council president's answer, the larger an organization gets, the more separated the executive level becomes from the frontline troops, and there's a lot more filtering of message. So I think absolutely communications is pertinent, especially for government officials to know exactly, that the upper management is aligned, with what the teachers are seeing and what the teachers are dealing with, right? The city council, the city of Yonkers ultimately is funding the school system in conjunction with other sources. So we want to make sure that, we're all aligned and we're all on the same page and we have a partnership. We also have a lot of community-based organizations in the city and programs that are geared towards youth. More than we can probably name on a Zoom call. And I think it's also important for government to make sure that those programs and those ideas and those opportunities and those resources are being adequately communicated and being transmitted to the students, to the families, to the teachers, to make sure that everyone has access to all the different resources that are available out there. Again, government's role is to help people, is to bring people together, and the school system is absolutely one place where we can do a better job.
Thank you. All right, the next question, Dean, you'll go first, followed by Lakisha. Yonkers has imposed an income tax surcharge on its residents since 1984. What is your position on renewing this legislation when it expires?
So I would want to know the history more and become more of a subject matter expert before I make any sort of commitment in a forum. But I will say this: I know in general the Yonkers budget is very tight every year, and as much as that, it's an additional tax on our citizens. It's also something that prevents us from having to raise taxes even further, right? So we would have to investigate what the impact would be to remove that, because it would end up just becoming a line item or getting translated somewhere else. Same thing applies to the exit tax, which is the mortgage transfer tax that we charge on transfer of properties in Yonkers. Unfortunately, I believe both these mechanisms have kind of been baked into the budgets for so many years that to remove them without doing any investigation or doing any cautionary work beforehand, it's just going to further raise taxes anyway. Having said that, jurisdictionally, compared to our immediate neighbors, the taxes are high in Yonkers, but they're not as high as some of our other neighbors. I do believe that we do get a lot of bang for our buck here, especially when it comes to city services, police, fire, and DPW. I know there's more that we can do with the school system, but to commit to dismantling these without knowing what the actual impact is going to be in the tax, it would require further investigation.
Thank you. Lakisha?
Thank you. Every budget year in Yonkers past, there would be threats of pink slips or either pink slips handed to teachers and employees throughout the workforce here in the city of Yonkers. Right now, with the way the nation is going and the funding cuts that we are seeing coming from the federal level and trickling down to the state, without having some other huge revenue source coming in from whether it's big business coming to the area, unfortunately, the city of Yonkers cannot afford to cut income taxes and maintain the level of service that we have here. In my time on the council, we have not had any layoffs. We have not had any cuts to service with fire, police, and DPW. In fact, with the huge growth that the residents have seen in residency here in the city of Yonkers, we've continued to add police and fire and DPW to make sure that the quality of life is maintained for all residents throughout the city of Yonkers.
Thank you. All right, the next question, Lakisha, you'll go first, followed by Dean. How can the City Council help to compensate for the loss of federal funding from programs for needy residents such as Medicaid and SNAP?
So Medicaid is and SNAP would be county issues because that would be the Department of Social Services. However, we can work with agencies that provide low or no cost healthcare to help our residents, whether it's providing references or referrals or information to our residents. However, we can't provide insurances or provide any type of SNAP funding to residents. That would be more of a county level issue. However, we are here to assist and advocate to our congressmen and women representatives to ensure that that funding is put back in place for our residents here in the city of Yonkers.
Thank you. Dean?
Yeah, there's a lot of community-based organizations that offer different levels of resources. To a degree, it's connecting residents with some of these CBOs and aligning them with the resources that they have available. To the council president's point, I don't think local government can establish a direct replacement for these type of programs. But what we can do, and again, going back to the terms of revenue, we bring in a certain amount of money every year, and that money is spent almost to the dollar, right? Can we do a better job where that money is being spent and money being shifted? Are we able to pass legislation here where perhaps we can support a community-based organization through some sort of localized grant or funding that can, to a degree, help replace some of these items? I don't know the direct answer to that, but that is something that I would explore as an idea and investigate further to see if that was an option on the municipal level.
Thank you. All right. Dean, the next question will be posed to you first, followed by Lakisha. Yonkers has been a beacon of opportunity for people from all over the world. What are your concerns about the safety of people in Yonkers, including undocumented immigrants?
So let me be fully transparent, and I've said this in other forums too. I support law enforcement, and that includes immigrations and customs enforcement. I think we need to be mindful that the federal government has a responsibility to enforcing the laws. And right now, ICE is primarily targeting individuals who are violent members in our community or people who have committed crimes and serious crimes. If there's a bad actor living in the city of Yonkers, we should use every tool at our disposal to remove him from our community, whether he's documented or undocumented. With regards to immigration status, if someone is committing crimes or they're a violent individual, then yes, then we should remove them from our communities. That does not mean that we should be going after the gentleman or the lady who's just staying under the radar, trying to support their family and kids. I think it's important to draw that distinction. I think ultimately, on the national level, there'll have to be a program towards some degree of amnesty. Obviously, this is outside the scope of city council president. But I think ultimately that's what the federal government would have to move towards. Having said that, I do know the Yonkers Police Department does not check for people's immigration status. But to directly answer your question, the most important thing government can do is communicate with our residents. Communicate, share information, and let them know. Look.
Thank you. Lakisha?
Yes, the city of Yonkers, I believe YPD has a policy of not assisting or enforcing any actions by ICE or the Department of Justice without a warrant. I do not want our residents here in the city of Yonkers, whether they are immigrants, illegally here, living in fear. Let's be honest about it. The federal government and the Trump administration has not been fully going after just quote unquote criminals. They're using language, skin color, and last name to determine who they're targeting. And you have residents who are here legally that are living in fear, children that are scared to go to school, families that are scared to go to work and make a living. And we just cannot tolerate that here in a city that prides itself on its diversity. So we have to make sure that we're pushing back against this federal administration's
30-second warning.
push to push out people of color out of this country. So I do not support ICE coming into our neighborhoods, and believe that anyone who has committed a crime, our police department does a wonderful job of addressing those individuals, and we can use our legal court system to deport individuals that have violated our laws and make sure that they have due process before they're removed from this country.
Please stop.
Thank you. The next question, Lakisha, I will pose to you first, and then followed by Dean. Do you think that term limits for mayor and city council members should be voted on in a public referendum?
So I would wholeheartedly support a referendum for term limits. I do believe that an elected official is term limited by voters every time their term is up. Residents determine whether they want to support or not support a candidate for office. So whether you have the possibility of serving 5 terms or 1 is decided essentially by the voters here in the city of Yonkers. However, as it stands right now, we have 4 terms. I don't believe we're looking to add any more terms to the tenure of a council person or elected official here in the city of Yonkers, but it essentially is up to a voter, whether it's by referendum or going to the voting box and voting for the candidate of their choice.
Thank you. Dean?
So the law right now is 4 terms. I think any changes to the law would have to be done through a referendum or through a plebiscite. I think you would need to get a vote of the people to make a decision on that. Generally speaking, I believe the higher office you are, the stricter terms should be. For example, president is 2 terms as you work your way down. Here locally in some jurisdictions, you do have people who have served for a very long time, like Paul Feiner in Greenberg, and a couple of folks out in Eastchester and Tuckahoe. But the law right now in Yonkers is 4. Any changes to that should be done through a public vote or referendum. However, I will put a caveat to that. If Mayor Spano was running against Mamdani in New York City for whatever reasons, and there was a chance that Mamdani was gonna win mayor of Yonkers because our mayor for whatever reason was termed out, then I would extend term limits to keep an element like that from coming into the city. I wouldn't want to commit jurisdictional suicide by having a bad element come in, but 99% of the time it would have to be a vote by the people.
Lakisha?
Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Certainly. How would you address the issue? Wait.
Because I thought it was the term limits one, and
It was.
Yes,
correct.
Yes.
So the next question, right? We was on term limits. You both answered. How would you address? So this question, pardon me, I don't want to be unfair. This question will be answered by Dean. How would you address the issue of housing instability, particularly in relation to the good cause eviction law?
So right now, I'll combine it with affordable housing too. So right now the law is about 10%. The law on the books is 10% affordable housing. I think we're building a little bit more than that actual number of units. I think the one way to address the housing issue is we need more supply, right? It's a supply and demand issue. The more housing you have, the more rates can come down. As for the good cause eviction that the state legislation for local jurisdictions, I'm not a fan. Generally speaking, I'm not a fan of government intervention into private markets or into private property. I think there are always unforeseen consequences. I think there are unforeseen consequences to rent stabilization. I think there are unforeseen I think they're now they're foreseen. There's consequences to rent control, and there's going to be consequences to the Good Cause Act. Having been a landlord at one point, I'm very well aware how all it takes is one bad tenant to ruin the building for everybody else. And it can really impact the quality of life for everybody else living in the building. I think the laws that are on the books now are sufficient. I don't think we need to introduce new legislation. Right now in Westchester County, it takes anywhere between 3 to 6 months to evict somebody, where in New York City, it's anywhere between 6 to 18 months. So I don't think it's an issue of adding legislation on top of legislation. I think it's just an issue of dealing with the laws that we have today.
Thank you. Lakisha.
Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Yes, I can. How would you address the issue of housing instability, particularly in relation to the good cause eviction law?
Okay, so I actually sponsored and put forth legislation for good cause here in the city of Yonkers. Unfortunately, it did not garner the support of four or three others or four others on the council to surpass a mayor veto if he were to veto it. So it is not on the books today. However, we know that residents and renters need to be protected, right? As far as having good cause, we understand that there's a dichotomy where landlords want to be able to evict or raise rents. And there are some legitimate arguments to be able to repair units that are in disrepair, and if you have a bad actor. But I believe those are exceptions to what generally takes place. I believe the more housing that we build, the supply and demand will have an impact, that rents will be lower and therefore more affordable. But one other piece of legislation that I've sponsored that I'm proud of that deals with
30-second warning.
affordability issue is having housing access vouchers, which the state did pass in its last budget. So that would deal with homelessness and individuals facing homelessness to provide housing and subsidy for those individuals to maintain a home.
Thank you. All right, the next question will be posed to Lakisha for the first answer, and then to Dean. The city of Yonkers owns many small parcels of land that are difficult to develop. How can the city become a better steward of these parcels so that they benefit the surrounding community?
So actually, we just addressed this issue recently on the council. We had many small pieces of land that we put up for sale so that abutting neighbors could probably purchase and build additional housing or expand the housing on their property. Also, one thing that we did was sell 8 parcels to the Municipal Housing Authority to create affordable home ownership here in the city of Yonkers. We are building many rental properties, and it's important that we have a segue for individuals that are just starting out and want to be able to purchase a home but may not have the revenue to do so. So affordable home ownership is a plausible way to get that done. And I will continue to push for more affordable home ownership and maybe even small homes on parcels that are too small to build larger homes, to make sure that we have housing availability for all residents here in Yonkers.
Thank you. Dean?
Yeah, so I guess it really depends on the specific space and the lot, but I could see an expansion of public spaces, like public use spaces, maybe small parks or gardens, if it's the right type of location and the right type of space. If we're having problems selling them or developing them, we can also work with developers to perhaps do it at discount, where they can build small homes and small units, and have them all for affordable housing. It really depends on the nature of the lot and what the community expectation is there. I think it's also important that we don't change the nature and the characteristics of a lot of our neighborhoods, right? Whatever we do in these spaces, it kind of matches what's already there in the surrounding area. When it comes to development in general, and I don't know if you're going to ask any development questions in the forum. Development is good, progress is good, as long as it doesn't negatively impact the people who are living there, right? Because ultimately, it's through that lens that government should be looking through first, right? How is it benefiting? How is it impacting? How is it hurting the people that live there on that street, on that block, in that neighborhood? And as long as we make the right decisions for the right reasons and we do the right thing and we put those people first, then I think we can continue to progress and move forward.
Thank you. All right, so the next question will be Dean to answer first, followed by Lakisha. What distinguishes you from your opponent?
I think the most obvious is that we're from opposing parties. And I was going to mention this in the closing statement, right? So right now in New York, you have a Democratic governor, you have a Democratic legislature, you have a Democratic assembly, you have a Democratic county, you have a Democratic mayor, and you have a Democratic majority city council. That is by definition one party rule. I think it's important to have somebody from the other side in a leadership position, right? Because it serves as a check and balance to maybe some things that 40%, 45%, 50% of the population might want to hear or see or adhere to. And we can get into details about specific legislations on the state level and the county level. But ultimately, I think one reason it's good to have somebody from the other side. The other reason too is I have a lot of leadership experience and operational experience working in the city of Yonkers at the execution level, right? Working directly with constituents, working directly with people, helping them solve problems in real time. And it's a lot of that experience and background that I want to bring to government, to the elected position, to continue to be able to help people.
Thank you. Lakisha?
Yes. So as I mentioned previously, I have not only a bachelor's degree, I have a master's in public administration, which essentially that is what this elected office is. And I'm also an attorney, but I've spent the last 18 years working with the Municipal Housing Authority. And as I mentioned, was previously a resident. So I understand the dynamics. My opponent mentions party differences, and they are glaring when it comes to ideology between the two of us, the differences in ideology. And right now, the political climate that we're in, Yonkers needs to continue moving forward. We can't have situations such as ICE coming to Yonkers and grabbing up residents just because of their last name or their skin color. And that's why it's important to continue this progress that we've had here in the city of Yonkers. We speak about experience. I've had the experience of being the council president the last 4 years. There is not going to be any lead up time or having to learn on the job because I can hit the ground
30-second warning.
doing it for the last 4 years and been in leadership positions throughout my career here in the city of Yonkers.
Thank you. All right, that concludes. Yes.
Sorry, not so much a rebuttal. I would just like to say that, regarding the ICE thing, I would like to know if, the council president or anybody knows, are there actually any incidents where ICE took anyone in custody in the city of Yonkers that wasn't a criminal or somebody accused of violence, right? Because again, we talk about these things, but, are they actually happening? Is this perception or is this factual? Right, because I'm not aware of any events or incidents. So, I would like to know if there are.
So this is not necessarily the way forums go. However, if Lakisha would like to answer, she has 2 rebuttals left and she can use that time if she'd like. 1 rebuttal.
Okay. I am not personally aware of any incident that happened with ICE in the city of Yonkers, but I know it's happening in neighboring jurisdictions, whether it's New York City or right here in Westchester County. And just because it hasn't happened in Yonkers yet does not mean that it can't happen. And the last thing we want to do is open that door and welcome them into our neighborhoods. And then you can't control who they pick up or what they do while they're here. And that's exactly why we have to vote for the Democratic candidate in this upcoming general election to make sure that our residents, whether they're here documented or not, feel safe
Stop.
in the city of Yonkers.
Thank you very much. All right, that concludes our question and answer portion of the program, and we will now move on to closing statements. And Dean, you have the first closing statement. I want to remind you that the closing statements are 2 minutes.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Lakisha. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you to League of Women Voters for Rivertowns for hosting this event. It's always a pleasure to get an opportunity to speak to everyone. I would say that I would ask that people just do their homework. Research me, research Lakisha, and make the best decision that you feel. I hope, through conversations like this, through sharing ideas and thoughts like this, that, you'll find that I'm the right candidate to lead the city council. But ultimately, the government best works when people are engaged and people are involved. We had mentioned this at another debate not too long ago. There's a certain degree of apathy, voter apathy, right? Because there's not a lot of participation. I think we had a 2% voter turnout for the primary. We might have a 10% voter turnout for the general election. So I think the most important thing is for people to get engaged, for people to talk about this stuff. Local politics is very, very important, probably more important than national politics. So having people engage and having people be critical thinkers and educated voters, I think, is the most important thing. Having said that, I think I'm the right person for the job. I think I bring a unique background, skill set, and experience to the position. And I would ask people to please do their homework and vote for me as the candidate for the next city council president.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lakisha, your closing statement, please.
Thank you. First, thank you again to the League of Women Voters and to Dean for being such a great opponent, having been through what I've been through in the primary. But 4 years ago when I ran, I promised that I would work to make more affordable housing, to improve education and funding for education and public safety here in the city of Yonkers. And in the last 4 years, I've done just that. We've built more than 1,600 affordable units here in the city of Yonkers. We have record number of funding for public schools, and our city is one of the safest of its size. Promises made, promises delivered. With all that is going on in Washington, D.C., we cannot afford to go backwards here in the city of Yonkers. We've been making progress, whether it's through business growth and growth as far as the population here in the city of Yonkers. We're thriving, we're growing, and we're booming, and we cannot afford to go back. When you cast your ballot, please make sure to vote for Lakisha Collin-Bellamy for re-election. Thank you.
Thank you both. And with that, we're going to conclude our forum. I would like to remind everyone that Election Day is Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. Early voting starts this Saturday, October 25th. To find a polling place, you can go to vote411.org or the Board of Elections website. Registration, if you are not sure if you're registered, you can also check that at vote411.org, or you can go through the County Board of Elections as well. Voter registration, if you need to register to vote, applications must be received by the Board of Elections by October 25th to be eligible to vote in the general election. And the physical address of the Board of Elections here in Westchester is 445 Hamilton Avenue, 8th floor in White Plains. Other than that, people can vote by mail. And in order to do that, you have to request an application that you then will receive and fill out and then send in to the Board of Elections. And this can be done online. There's an online ballot request application portal, which is https://ballot application, one word, elections.ny.gov/home/early mail. That was a mouthful. But if you go to the Board of Elections website, you'll be able to find that all. So the Board of Elections website is https://citizen participation one word, westchestergov.com/voting request an election ballot. If you just get to the citizen participation.westchestergov.com, you'll get where you need to go. And I thank everybody. I thank you both for offering yourself for public service. I thank everyone who participated and watched for participating in our democratic process. It is indeed sacred. Thank you. Good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone.